Alright, we are into some of the tough strips. I'm going to just do a very quick little video here about fitting the tough strips. You might remember that we had one piece of pine that I went in here and I just did it for accent. Honestly, I can't tell a whole lot of difference in the color, but I imagine that'll come out when we do the epoxy. My next strip here is cedar, and I'm down to this 3/4 inch stuff that we made. I couldn't go any wider than that. Actually, even if it was thinner than that, it might even bend a little bit easier, because if you look down here along here, you're going to see we got some very complex curves going on. It comes around here, it has to bend down and fold down onto the frames, and I've had a hard time keeping these tight to the frames. So it's taken a bit of extra work now. Before it seemed like I was just throwing on strip after strip and it was easy. These are anything but easy. One of the things that I'm doing is that when I get in here, because of the way this curve is, I'm taking a plane. I have a regular flat blade plane, but quite honestly, this little Sureform plane from Stanley, you don't have to worry about where you're at with it. It's sharp all over the place, kind of like a cheese grater, but it works really good on these, and they're only 1/4 inch thick, so it doesn't take very much to plane off an angle. So what I'm doing is I'm planing off an angle in between these seams so that this board will lay tight up against here. Now the other thing that I'm doing is I can't plane too well when I get to where the stations are, because I'm too tight up against that other wood, and so I've got an X-Acto knife here, and it's got a very sharp blade on it. I keep the cover on there. This actually is made by X-Acto, and I am taking this, and it's very efficient at coming in there. Let's see if I can take this off here without cutting myself. It's very efficient at coming in here up on these stations and trimming these down to where you're coming in here at an angle, and I'm cutting off the inside part. I don't know if we can see that or not. I'm cutting off the inside part here and making that lay down just a little bit, and then I actually took the plane on the new strip that I laid down, and I trimmed the corner off of that too. So you can see as a result it's got a bevel. Well, you can't see it because it's inside the joint, but there's a bevel in there. Now the other thing that I did is I had been just trying to pick these strips up loose and throw them on here. I dry fitted this before I put any glue in here just to make sure that I could get it to lay down. And once I felt like I had that, then I left this board in these little plywood cleats and clamps, so that with maybe just moving up, I don't know, maybe up an inch or so up on the frame, still being held by the cleat, so that I had the wood right where I wanted it. Then I ran my bead of glue right down through on top of the last strip, and then slowly push this back down from being up on the station where I had the strip set ready to come right down on top of it. It was easier to do that, especially since I dry fitted it and I knew my bevels were right, and so I didn't want the strip moving to where then I would have little gaps in there. Really kind of a painstaking progress, but I got some advice from a guy who's done this for a long time. Said, take your time, be patient. When you think you want to see more results and you want it to go faster, slow down. And so I feel like I got this strip on here fairly well. I'm a little concerned about a little indentation here at this station 2, and that could just be a fault of the form. But it's not too bad. It seems like we've got a little indentation here, and then it bumps up a little bit coming out. I don't think that's going to be terribly noticeable, and I can imagine when I take it off the frames that some of that will straighten itself out. Another thing I had to do, and I was just sick about it, I've been trying to keep from using staples if I didn't have to, and I realized I was just too far away from the frame with this strip. I had a good 1/4 inch maybe in places, especially in these middle frames, stations 0, 1, and 2. And I tried to put a staple in there to try to push this down. You can even maybe see right here the staple holes here and here, and I couldn't get the staple to grab into the station and hold this tight. I ended up drilling a little hole, and I put a little number 6 1-inch screw, or I guess it's maybe only 3/4 inch screw in here. And I ended up doing that. Once I did it, I was like, okay, well, let's just get it laid down, because the more distance you have in there, the more distance you're going to have with the next strip going up. I was able to manage with a staple here. I got a screw here and a screw here. I hated to do it, but that's what they make wood putty for, I guess. And quite honestly, once we put the fiberglass and the epoxy on there, it's not going to make any difference anyway. Somebody wants to inspect it very closely, they're going to see a couple of little staple holes in various places. But for the most part, I've been able to get away without using the staples too much. So anyway, we'll see. I'm going to leave this alone and let this glue set up. I'm using Tight Bond, and it seems to be working real well. Once it sets up, it seems like it really holds. All right, no video's complete without the sailing ship.